LivinLargeLarry.com. Livin Large Larry live from the Livin Large Computer Studios in West Billings, Montana. Well, what a weekend. No long enough. Whatever is, we'll go for some Montana news and have some, play some interviews, topics, audio from the first debate, Governor of Montana, Gregory Forte and Steve Bullock, a couple of weeks ago. They're holding the Montana Broadcasters Convention in Big Sky, Montana. And it's the first of, I think, 4 debates that the two vying for Montana governorship, if you will happen before November. Clips back from that on the way. As for our Billings area forecast, we're live on YouTube. And here, it's streaming us at LivinLargeLarry.com. When you cool down in Billings, Montana for a couple of days, and back up to the mid to upper 70s, mid to upper 80s by the latter part of the week. We'll do all that. So it's all coming up. LivinLargeLarry.com.
Jay Johansson, the Athlete's Foot, 3839 Grand Avenue.
655-3668, Larry. I tell you what, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm here to lay it out. Truth is the truth, and I got to come clean with everything.
All right.
You've heard me on the radio.
Yeah.
Doing my thing for 4 or 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
The Athlete's Foot, 3839 Grand Avenue, 655-3668. That's my phone number.
Yeah.
Larry?
Yes, sir.
We're number 1.
I know, you're number 1.
We're number 1. We're the number 1 shoe store in Billings. If you want great customer service, if you want someone that's going to care how you feel, not next month, but in 3 months, you need to come to 3839 Grand Avenue, the Athlete's Foot, for top quality customer service. Larry, you know what we're going to actually do?
What's that?
You know what we're going to actually do?
Yeah,
I'm going to measure your foot. Yeah, I'm going to do something really crazy.
All right, yeah, crazy.
I'm not going to ask somebody those shoe sizes. I'm going to measure their feet. And then we're going to use the footprint technology. We're going to take the human element completely out of it, see what kind of foot you got, and put the exact kind of shoes on your feet that you need. And not only that, Livin Large Larry, the best on the radio, we also got the Jordans. And I'm not talking the black and white Jordans that every shoe shop's got. I'm talking about the Jordans that everyone's waiting to get. In my store, right now, in my case, are the French Blue 12s that don't release until next week, and I got 72 pairs of them.
My notes say you're the Jordan expert.
I had to come clean.
The Athlete's Foot Billings on Facebook.
The Athlete's Foot Billings MT. Check us out. Peace.
3839 Grand Avenue, Billings, the Athlete's Foot.
Publicity from Relay for Life for Yellowstone County was sponsored last week in preparation for the event last Friday. It was sponsored by Bighorn Inspection, Petrochemical and Refinery Inspection, BighornInspection.com, and I will let you know how much money you helped raise for the 8th largest Relay for Life of the American Cancer Society, the 8th largest Relay for Life in the world here in Billings, Montana. That's coming up for you. LivinLargeLarry.com. We broadcast on YouTube live from the Red Line Computer Studios across from Goodwill, West Billings. Carrie's Massage. Yeah, new place for a massage. Carrie's Massage. Check her out. And she's at 928 Broadwater, Suite number 204. Been open for a couple of months now and offering great services. Swedish, deep tissue, hot stone, prenatal massage. Not every massage therapist does prenatal massage. Carrie's Massage does. And if you're a new customer, and you get $10 off any offer, any service that Carrie's Massage has available for you. Carrie's Massage, you can check them out on Facebook, and the walk-ins are fine. 928 Broadwater, and going Suite number 204 for Carrie's Massage. $10 off.
Livin Large Larry live from the Red Line Computer Studios next to the Dollar Tree off of King Avenue West in Billings, Montana. This is Livin Large Larry live.
Couple of cool days and a pretty mild week, actually. Our forecast from Top Sandwich Company, locally owned in Billings across from Shopco with happy hour each weekday evening from 5 until 8 p.m. And all sandwiches at that time at Top's Sandwich Company on $5. Top Sandwich Company across from Shopco in Billings. So between 65 and 70 for a couple of days here, and closer to the upper 70s to mid to upper 80s towards the mid to latter part of the week. And a chance for some showers and thunderstorms each late afternoon, evening as well. Cools things down a little bit from the last couple of weeks. Get an expanded look at the forecast. Log on to livinlargelarry.com. Click on the weather tab at the website's forecast. Brought to you by Top's Sandwich Company, locally owned in Billings, across from Shopco off of King Avenue West. Top's Sandwich Company. Free delivery, even one sandwich at Top's Sandwich Company. Probably time for your 6-week haircut, right? Trained professionals and these barbershops all over the place, but if you want trained professionals and work done right, Jim and Austin's Barbershop, Main Billings Heights, Jim and Austin's Barbershop, 10 minutes. $10 haircuts and other services as well. Through Jim and Austin's Barbershop, 2225 Main Street in Billings Heights, and a proud major sponsor of the 2016 Billings Wolves, Jim and Austin's Barbershop. The promise from Brown's Automotive in Billings to continue communications. It's been happening for over 60 years in Billings. Brown's Auto Service on Broadwater. Brown's West Auto Service, corner of Rosebud and 20th in Billings. 2 downtown locations of Brown's Automotive, the Automatic Transmission Company, 13th Street North and 1st Avenue North, and Brown's Rebuild Center downtown, 18th Street North and 2nd Avenue North. Brown's Automotive, BrownsAutoBillings.com. Couponing is back, and how would you like to look at a coupon magazine that's larger than the palm of your hands? Real-sized Hometown Values coupon magazine. There's one built and issue out for your area in and around Billings and Lowell. Hometown Values, shop the original. Inside, practical couponing. Hometown Values, and log on to myhometownvalues.com. Check out the new Heights issue of Hometown Values.
Livin Large Larry live from the Redline Computer Studios next to the Dollar Tree off of King Avenue West in Billings, Montana. This is Livin Large Larry live.
Couple of cooler days around Billings, Montana. So if you're traveling through, heading to Yellowstone National Park, or just touring Montana, eastern Montana, northern Wyoming, then for the first couple of days, Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, the upper 60s, low 70s. It's rain showers, thunderstorms, but by the end of the week and the weekend, we should be in the 80s, which is just about normal. So a look at news around the area coming up. LivinLargeLarry.com on the website and YouTube. Fitness is found in many things. Working out also through cryotherapy. N2 Cryotherapy in Billings since last July, and the business has really expanded. I talked to Cindy Cranford and her crew at N2 Cryotherapy, 805 24th Street West, Suite number 4, and N2Cryo.com for details, a little history about what cryotherapy is, how it'll help you, and right now she's got a great contingent of athletes, and we're talking from middle school to high school to the professional ranks as well. Ask her about it. N2 Cryotherapy, and ask for the introductory offer as well. N2Cryo.com. You can set up an appointment online as well. Keystone Mortgage is a sponsor of our replays on the show. Keystone Mortgage, downtown Billings, at the new location right across the street from the pub station. Ask about their new loan tracker. You can see everything, including rates, lock dates, personal notes, and documentation. It's private to you. The loan tracker through Keystone Mortgage Company in Billings, downtown.
Livin Large Larry live from the Redline Computer Studios next to the Dollar Tree off of King Avenue West in Billings, Montana. This is Livin Large Larry live.
Before we get to the news around the area here, eastern Montana and even Wyoming, around Montana as well, LivinLargeLarry.com. Yellowstone County's Relay for Life Friday passed $547,000. That's the tabulation right now. Mind you, just a couple of days later. And usually it takes like a month or so before they have the actual count. So it could get close to $600,000, which would be close to the Yellowstone County Relay for Life from 2015 too. So good work. Thank you for your support and fundraising for the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life in Billings, Montana, Yellowstone County. Again, $537,000. So, Billings Wolves win the playoffs. IFL, Rimrock Auto Arena against the Nebraska Danger. The Wolves were slated to win. The odds are that the Wolves were to win this past weekend. They lose at home, out of the playoffs, season over in the IFL for the second year. Billings Wolves, they are done. They lost to the Nebraska Danger. So, will there be a Billings Wolves IFL football team in 2017? Lots of people say no, there will not be. Some say the team will be sold. Some say it'll go on with the Billings Wolves owning team. So there's a lot of speculation going on. And if I was to guess, I would say there will be no Billings Wolves team in 2017. That's my opinion. And I hope I'm wrong. So just some things that I've heard. So in any event, LivinLargeLarry.com. Live and Large Larry live from the Redline Computer Studios in West Billings, Montana.
Dallas, Texas police say no explosives have been found in extensive sweeps of downtown areas following the fatal shooting of 5 officers and the wounding of 6 others by snipers. Security was tight Friday with numerous streets closed to vehicle traffic in the main downtown Dallas business district hours after Thursday night's attack. The gunfire claimed the lives of 4 Dallas police officers and 1 Dallas area rapid transit officer. DART serves Dallas and a dozen other North Texas cities. The transit agency operates buses and the state's largest municipal rail system. The numbers are in, and for the 4th of July weekend from Friday through the Independence Day, the Montana Highway Patrol made nearly 1,600 total traffic stops across Montana statewide. 3 people died on Montana highways. In Wyoming, which has about half the population of Montana, the Highway Patrol there reported 700 more traffic stops than the Montana Highway Patrol did over the Independence weekend last weekend. Brad Treat was memorialized on Thursday with friends, co-workers, and his family standing by at Legends Field in Kalispell. The 38-year-old Flathead Forest law enforcement officer was killed by a bear near Glacier National Park earlier in the month. In her quest to qualify for the upcoming Olympics, Billings' Christina Aragon finished in 3rd place on Thursday in the women's 1,500-meter race that qualified her for today's semifinals, which begins at 6:30 tonight, Montana time. Donald Trump's run for the presidency has opened opinions in Montana's conservative bedrock. Former Governor Mark Roscoe recently wrote a piece for the Washington Post declaring that the New York businessman lacked leadership and the conservative principles to be a true standard bearer for his party. More than 2 dozen Montana campaign committees currently registered as political party committees may have to be reclassified as independent campaign committees or be reestablished as official arms of the Democratic, Republican, or Libertarian parties. More than 107 political committees are currently registered with the Commissioner of Political Practices, but not all of them qualify for that designation under the state's Disclosure Act. The Yellowstone National Park has welcomed more than 1.4 million visitors this year. That's a 10% increase over the same time in 2015. The National Park Service says the park had about 830,000 visitors during the month of June alone, a 7% jump from last year. A former Billings accountant who pleaded guilty to stealing from clients has been sentenced to probation and faces about a $175,000 restitution order. Prosecutors had argued for prison time for Michael Wombolt, but the judge said restitution was the most important consideration. Out of Boise, Idaho officials are seeking public comments on rules for hunting grizzlies in the eastern part of Idaho, the Idaho Department of Fish and Game says comments are being accepted through July 27th on rules that would limit Idaho hunters to 1 grizzly per lifetime. And Yellowstone National Park has hired 3 Mandarin-speaking rangers to help with communication amid a growing number of Chinese tourists. The Yellowstone South District Resource Education Ranger, Rich Jewell, says basic safety publications are available in many languages, but it's different to have a ranger who can talk directly with the visitor. And there you go. Look at news at liveandlargelarry.com.
And we'll have more about Yellowstone National Park, a crash over the weekend coming up that I'm getting an update from. And also, how did Christina Aragon from Billings do running, trying to qualify for the Olympics? I have the final results of her tryouts. That's coming up to liveandlargelarry.com. It's a broadcast from the Redline Computer Studios next to the Wave Car Wash, and it's right off King and 24th Street West, West Billings, Montana. Redline Computer Studios.
Jay Johansson with us, the Athlete's Foot, 3839 Grand Avenue in Billings. The Athlete's Foot, Jay.
We also got the Jordans. I'm talking about the Jordans that everyone's waiting to get. In my store right now, in my case, are the French Blue 12.
Jay, the Athlete's Foot in Billings is the Jordan King.
Oh, yeah, it's the truth. It's the truth. I was just telling another one of your friends that not only we're a hip store that services the community. You got that?
Yeah.
We're a hip, family-owned shoe store that if you just need great shoes, come see us. If you need the best shoes, come see us. If you need the shoes no one else has, and I'm talking no one living large, Larry, as you know.
Yeah.
I'm talking no one in Billings. I'm talking no one in Denver. No one in Minneapolis. No one in Seattle. We got it because my big brother, my owner, Intersport, check them out, largest sporting good company store in the world. They got us the account. We're number one.
I wear the books. I wear the Jordan. My family shops the Athlete's Foot, 3839 Grand Avenue. Jay, thank you very much, sir.
Hey, living large, Larry, keep it up. You need great shoes, you know where to come. 3839 Grand Avenue, the Athlete's Foot.
And the Athlete's Foot on Facebook, too. Don't forget about Facebook. The Athlete's Foot on Facebook.
The Athlete's Foot, Billings MT. Check us out. Peace.
Carrie's Massage. Yeah, new place for a massage. Carrie's Massage. Check her out. And she's at 928 Broadwater, Suite number 204. Been open for a couple of months now and offering great services. Swedish, deep tissue, hot stone, prenatal massage. Not every massage therapist does prenatal massage. Carrie's Massage does. And if you're a new customer, and you get $10 off any offer, any service that Carrie's Massage has available for you. Carrie's Massage, you can check them out on Facebook, and the walk-ins are fine. 928 Broadwater, and going Suite number 204 for Carrie's Massage. $10 off.
Living Large Larry live from the Redline Computer Studios next to the Dollar Tree off of King Avenue West in Billings, Montana. This is Living Large Larry live.
Couple of cool days and a pretty mild week, actually. Our forecast from Top Sandwich Company, locally owned in Billings, across from Shopco with happy hour each weekday evening from 5 until 8 p.m. And all sandwiches at that time at Top's Sandwich Company are $5. Top Sandwich Company across from Shopco in Billings. So between 65 and 70 for a couple of days here, and closer to the upper 70s to mid to upper 80s towards the mid to latter part of the week. And a chance for some showers and thunderstorms each late afternoon, evening as well. Cools things down a little bit from the last couple of weeks. Get an expanded look at the forecast. Log on to livinlargelarry.com. Click on the weather tab at the websites. Forecast brought to you by Top's Sandwich Company, locally owned in Billings, across from Shopco off of King Avenue West. Top's Sandwich Company. Free delivery, even one sandwich at Top's Sandwich Company. Get a new summer look at Jim and Austin's Barbershop, 2225 Main Street in Billings Heights. $10, 10 minutes, each haircut. Jim and Austin's Barbershop, 2225 Main Street in Billings Heights. A proud supporter of the Billings Wolves. No disrespect to the industry, but there seems to be coupons for everything. And you know, the real coupon magazine, Hometown Values coupon magazine. A coupon book you can read, and practical couponing. Hometown Values, check them out. Different Hometown Values magazines for each part of the city. Hometown Values, Billings and Laurel. Log on to myhometownvalues.com.
Living Large Larry live from the Redline Computer Studios next to the Dollar Tree off of King Avenue West in Billings, Montana. This is Living Large Larry live.
Mayor call from late last week. Mayor Tom Hannell, City of Billings. It's just ahead here. And he revisits and replays the show, courtesy of Keystone Mortgage, downtown Billings. Keystone Mortgage, across from the pump station. And Mayor call with Mayor Tom Hannell. LivinLargeLarry.com from the Redline Computer Studios in West Billings, Montana. Glad you're here streaming us. our replay
Mayor
sponsor.
Call with Mayor
on
Tom
Livin.
Hannell, City of Billings. First of all, I was just looking over, waiting for your phone call, looking over the City of Billings vision statement. The Magic City, a diverse, welcoming community where people prosper and business succeeds. That's
There
pretty
you
cool.
go.
I don't think a lot of Billings residents knows about that vision statement. Maybe you can speak to that for a second.
You know, Larry, I'd be happy to, and I'll say this, that being a part of the draft for that vision statement gives me great honor, and we've tried very hard to adhere to those specific terms, and the question of how many people are familiar with it, I guess I would respond with the fact that I wonder how many local citizens that have the ability to view our website, the City of Billings website, because obviously our mission statement is clearly publicized on our website, but all of our documents, our letterhead, our agenda for our meetings, things such as that, it's on all of that. So we try to get the word out the best we can. We promote it very strong. We try to abide by it in our everyday activity or business activities having to do with City of Billings. So it's a very good point. I would love it if it came up more often for discussion.
Yeah, well, maybe we can push that through the rest of the year here from time to time at your meetings. But it's just a great vision statement. I thought I'd bring it up today on the show, so there you go.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It took a lot of energy and some thinking, and several of us got together and decided that would be the most appropriate words to do business by.
So talk about the new City of Billings website. How's that development coming?
You know, it is developed. It's in operation. We're getting a lot of favorable comments. It's a little more detailed than the previous website. You've got to follow it a little bit closer. Once you navigate your way through the initial opening, the information waiting for you is just phenomenal. There's anything and everything you ever need to know or learn about the City of Billings. Put you in contact with any specific city department for services and whatnot. So far, it's coming across very well. A lot of favorable comments.
So the City of Billings City Council had a work session on Tuesday because of the holiday. On July 5th, you have the work session, and there's been some discussion about a couple of traffic issues, if I can phrase it that way, the feasibility study.
Exactly. Yes, we did have. First of all, we started off with the Rimrocks to Valley bicycle pedestrian feasibility study, and this is through, of course, our planning department, our traffic engineers, but also with the assistance of Sanderson Stewart Engineering here in Billings. So a very professional document, very lengthy, many pages, but what it comes down to is the use of the rims, which, of course, everyone knows the rims when we speak of Billings, and the increased use as far as pedestrian traffic, bicycle type activity, and the accessibility of the rims. Presently, there's Zimmerman Trail and there's North 27th Street.
Right.
And if you're speaking of whether you're walking, jogging, biking up either one of those, it can be very dangerous. They're very narrow passageways. There's a lot of traffic, and 27th Street, for example, has high-speed traffic. So what we're looking at is, with the increased usage and demand, how can we better serve our citizens by creating more safe ways of getting up and down the rims. Interesting enough, a lot of people may not be aware, there is near 17th Street West, north of Rimrock Road, there is a trail that takes you up the face of the rims. It's not in the best condition, but years ago it was used quite often, well known. So our plan is to address a trail on Zimmerman Trail, which would skirt along Zimmerman Trail, in other words, to the side. And then, of course, the same with North 27th Street. There's a trail that's along adjacent to the highway, off of the highway. And, of course, some discussion of painting the bike lane on the highway. That received quite a bit of, quite a bit of discussion. And then improving the trail that goes in off of 17th Street West, which, as I say, many people are not familiar with. All of those cost money, so we're going to continue our study, do some research on some available funding, and see if we can't enhance those to better serve our users.
Because usage of those areas you speak of, Mayor Hannell, will only increase over time. They're not going to decrease, so I think this is a good plan moving forward.
Well, that's just it. And, the rims of landmark, they're used more and more often. We have a very good trail along the rims on the east side from 27th Street, North 27th, down to Main Street, but we don't have the best of access to the west of there. So all of this comes together within this study, and that's exactly what it is. No decision's been made. No money on improvements has been spent. Nothing's been even presented for approval. This is just a study to see what we can do, if there's any way to improve accessibility, make it safer for our users.
What was the public comment? Any public comment at the work session?
Actually, there weren't that many there to comment on Tuesday evening. So to share public comments on this, I don't believe there were any. However, there has been the ability to respond to a online survey, to attend meetings, several of which were organized by our planning department, and they had very good response, very good turnout at the meetings, and I would say that the far majority are in favor of improving accessibility.
What kind of response have you had, good, bad, the ugly, about the business affected by the Grand Avenue construction, the lack of business? And I know we've talked about this a little bit. I feel for those businesses over there, and I try to frequent them as much as I can off of Grand Avenue there.
Exactly, and I appreciate that, Larry, and I hope that we have some listeners that will do the same thing. Construction is very inconvenient. It's very costly, and it creates very much an inconvenience for businesses. In this particular case, the businesses out on Grand Avenue, this is a busy time of year for some of them. They rely upon the lock-in business, and this has been a serious effect. So it did come up for discussion Tuesday evening with the request that we try everything we can to create accessibility through there for traffic, even if temporary, but to get traffic flowing more so to help these businesses. We need them and they need us, and that's how Billings has grown and succeeded. And when they basically do not have access for an extended period of time, it's very serious, very detrimental.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, Mayor Tom Hannell with Mayor Call from the City of Billings, and we will get together and discuss more City of Billings business next week, sir. Thanks for your time.
Well, thank you very, very much, and I'm glad that we got through the 4th of July without any serious injuries. The calls for service, be it fire or police, were down just a little.
Good, yeah.
But, we thank the citizens for being as careful as they are and celebrating Independence Day in a good manner.
And we're on the verge of another weekend, so that's cool.
There you go. Well,
thanks,
thank
Tom.
you, Larry, and you have a wonderful day, and hello to your lovely wife, Carrie.
And say hey to Robin for us.
Thank you.
Livin Large Larry live from the Redline Computer Studios next to the Dollar Tree off of King Avenue West in Billings, Montana. This is Livin Large Larry live.
A news update on the missing 12-year-old over the weekend from the Wilson County Sheriff. Look at news here. LivinLargeLarry.com for Redline Computer Studios, West Billings. Search for a 12-year-old girl who went missing in the Yellowstone River Canal. Continued on Sunday after the search was suspended Saturday due to low light. Search and rescue divers as well as dogs returned to the scout area around 7 on Sunday morning. And Sheriff Mike Linder said the rain throughout the morning did not help the effort of the diversion dam, which is north of Interstate 90. When asked if the search has turned to a body recovery of the girl, Sheriff Linder, Yellowstone County, said he is remaining optimistic. Cameras were also placed in the water to help assist divers, but the visibility in the water is just a few inches, so we'll keep following that story for you. Shayla Wiggins, a 19-year-old Riverton, Wyoming resident, found a body floating in the Wind River on Friday morning around 8:40, according to the report. It says that Shayla woke up and began playing a game on her cell phone called Pokemon Go, a virtual reality game that encourages the user to capture as many Pokemon as possible. She said she jumped over the fence to go towards the river in search of a Pokemon. She said the body was floating about 3 feet from shore, and it looked like an average-sized male body. She saw a black shirt and black pants. All of the body was reportedly submerged, except for part of his back and behind. Detectives told Shada that they thought the body had been there for less than 24 hours. Shada was a bit shaken after the incident. Authorities are still investigating and haven't released really any further information on that out of Livingston, Wyoming. Christina Aragon's first Olympic trials came to an end late on Friday night during the semifinals of the women's 1,500 meters. The women's senior high grad finished 9th out of 12th in their heat 1 in 4 minutes 12 seconds, .71. The top 5 in each of the 2 heats, plus the next 2 fastest times combined, advanced to Sunday's final, leaving Aragon out of that field. Aragon finished 14th out of the 23 semifinal runners, 2 places and less than 1 second from qualifying out of the field. Aragon finished 14th out of the 23. Two-time Olympian Jenny Simpson won the first heat in 4 minutes 10 seconds, .9. Fellow two-time Olympian Shane Robo finished second in 14:24. So Christina Aragon will do it again in 4 years. Authorities are investigating a 2-vehicle accident in Yellowstone National Park over the weekend that left several people seriously injured, according to the Cody Enterprise. A main road was closed for about an hour on Friday after the incident. The injured were flown to a hospital. The accident occurred on the park's Grand Loop Road, just north of Old Faithful, in the popular Grand Prismatic Spring in Yellowstone National Park. And despite the bouts of wind and rain, Yellowstone County Relay for Life on Friday past raised more than $537,000. Officials said over the last 20 years, the money raised has surpassed $8 million just from Yellowstone County Relay for Life events. In 2015, Yellowstone County raised nearly $600,000, and the counting of the money and funds from sponsorships will be coming in for the next 20 to 30 days. We may get close to that $600,000 mark. So good work. It's pretty impressive. The American Cancer Society. Livin Large Larry live at livinlargelarry.com from the Red Light Computer Studios. Here next to the Wave Car Wash in West Billings on YouTube Live. The TuneIn smartphone app, all at livinlargelarry.com.
Livin Large Larry live from the Red Line Computer Studios next to the Dollar Tree off of King Avenue West in Billings, Montana. This is Livin Large Larry live.
A replay of the debate, Governor Bullock and Governor hopeful for Montana, Greg Gianforte. Big Sky, Montana, the Montana Broadcasters Association convention of a couple of weekends ago here at livinlargelarry.com. Our replay of segments on livinlargelarry.com on the show from Keystone Mortgage Company here in Billings to purchase, refinance, investment properties, and a brand new place to call home for work. Keystone Mortgage downtown now across from the pub station, 2442 First Avenue North. You can find them on Facebook. Type in the keyword Keystone Mortgage Company. You aren't just a number, you're our number one priority. I think you'll love the changes at Keystone Mortgage.
Mr. Gianforte will make his 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you to the Broadcasters Association and the panelists. I want to talk specifically to those of you at home. My name is Greg Gianforte, and I'm a businessman, not a career politician. 40 years ago, I fell in love with Montana on a backcountry trip. Susan and I have raised our 4 children in Bozeman. And nearly 20 years ago, we took a chance and started a company in our home. That company, Right Now Technologies, grew to 1,100 employees with an average Montana wage of nearly $90,000 a year. Now, unfortunately and undeniably, today, Montana is 49th in the country in wages and dead last in income for our kids. And they've become our most precious export. As a dad, I want my kids around the table on Sunday afternoon, and I know I share that dream with many of you. Now, I have a strong and capable running mate in Leslie Robinson. She's a 4th-generation Montana rancher and has been a county commissioner in Phillips County for 11 years. As governor, I'll focus on bringing high-wage jobs to Montana. I'll also work to bring innovation to education so our kids are prepared for the jobs of the future. I'll bring accountability and transparency back to state government, and I will take on health care costs. The best part of campaigning has honestly been traveling to every corner of the state. I've been in many of your homes, I've stayed there, and I've heard your dreams and aspirations. The Big Sky State has so much potential. What she needs and what you deserve is effective leadership that understands and can capitalize on that potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gianforte. Mr. Bullock, your opening statement.
Thanks so much for hosting this important forum. It's great to be at Big Sky. We're at a place where I think the first time I was here was middle school, and at that time it was just this kind of your local ski hill. Now it's not only part of a $6 billion outdoor recreation economy, but when we come up now, it's usually chasing our kids down Black Diamond runs, our 14, 11, and 9-year-old. Montana was a gift for me growing up. And I got involved in public service because I want Montana to be that much better than I had grown up for my kids and everybody else that follows. I believe we fulfilled that promise as Attorney General. We've made great steps in this last 3.5 years as governor, but still have a long way to go. More people are working in the state of Montana than ever before in our state's history. 20,000 new jobs created in the last 3.5 years alone. Wages are the 6th fastest growing in the country here in Montana. Our economy, 5th fastest growing, manufacturing growing twice as fast as the national average. And it's not just in the jobs area. Record high school graduation rates. We took government transparency from a D to an A- in the last 3.5 years. And we have a lot more to do, and that's why I'm excited about running for re-election. Recently rolled out a plan to make sure that we're capitalizing on our public lands and the access to those lands, that outdoor recreation economy. Rolled out a plan that said, let's actually look at what our energy future is, and by bringing people together, like I've done time and time again, we can do that. Continue to transform what education looks like in Montana. We've made great steps. We have much more to do, and I'll do it the same way I have in the past, bringing people together, responsible leadership, looking toward the future.
Thank you, Mr. Bullock. Our first question this morning will be asked to Mr. Gianforte by Julie Wendell.
Mr. Gianforte, as you have just said, Montana ranks 49th in wages, and that's true in the private sector jobs. In fact, according to the U.S. Labor Department, 50% of Montana's workforce makes $15 an hour or less. Our own minimum wage of $8.05 per hour nets an annual salary of only $2,000 over the national poverty level. As governor, what are your plans for improving the average wage in Montana, and what are your thoughts on raising the minimum wage?
Okay, thank you for the question. And you're right, that's why I'm running to create more high-wage jobs, because unfortunately, an average college graduate in the state of Montana today makes $24,000 less than the national average. And as I've traveled the state, I've driven 40,000 miles now and stayed in a lot of homes and been in town hall meetings. This is the concern that I hear from Montanans, is that we want our kids to stay. Even if we raise the wage, the minimum wage to $15 an hour, it's still hard to prosper on that wage. I'm more concerned about maximum wages, not minimum wages. The difficulty I have with a rush to the bottom is that increasing the minimum wage actually reduces employment opportunities in our society, particularly for those just getting started out. I will focus on higher wage jobs. In our business, we delivered $90,000 a year jobs, and they weren't just for techies. What happens when you bring a high wage job into a community, those families all build homes, that creates construction jobs. The other difficulty is you raise a minimum wage, you make it harder for businesses to survive. And as I've traveled the state and talked to small business owners, they're dying a death of 1,000 cuts from regulations, from higher cost, and from healthcare costs. We need to make it easier for small business people to succeed here in the state.
Thank you, Mr. Gianforte. Mr. Bullock, rebuttal?
We've taken some great steps increasing wages in Montana, but we still have a long way to go for certain. Now, ever since my opponent came out and said he was running because we're 49th in the nation in wages, there's been criticism about that. And that's not the Montana way. You don't build our state up by tearing it down. My opponent certainly knows that when he uses that calculation, it does include farmers, entrepreneurs, ranchers, some telecommuters. In fact, by excluding them, because they don't have W-2, it makes it all look like we are making less. Now, as I said, there are additional steps we can take. Certainly, number one state in the country for entrepreneurs, we need to continue. We need to be investing in public education. But you don't build our state up by tearing it down. We won't increase wages by blowing our rainy day fund. We won't increase wages by ultimately blocking public access. We won't increase wages by adopting discriminatory policies.
Thank you, Mr. Bullock. Our second question will be asked of Mr. Bullock by Becky Hilliard.
Mr. Bullock, Montana's unemployment rate is currently 4.2%, down from a peak of 7.4% in February 2010. Now, we've seen a significant slowdown in energy production, and it's worth mentioning that according to the University of Montana's Bureau of Business and Economic Research, energy and mining make up nearly 20% of what drives Montana's economy. You've been governor for 3 years. What concrete steps have you taken to ensure that Montanans will have jobs in the event they lose them, especially for those employed in the energy sector who are threatened with losing their high-paying jobs?
Sure, when it comes to energy, that is a significant part of our economy. More coal has been mined in the first 3 years of my administration than in the last 3 decades alone. But we're not immune from global markets and ultimately challenges in global pricing as well as other things. When it comes specifically to coal, when the Clean Power Plan came out, not only did I say that that was unfair, but I said that litigation should go forward, and we've supported that both from the Attorney General and the motion for reconsideration on that. Now, more than that, though, too, we need to be looking at the opportunities going to the future when it comes to energy production. That's why we recently rolled out an energy plan. I did the same thing that I was doing before the Clean Power Plan got put on hold. I brought Montanans together. And we can certainly see great things. I mean, coal, we have 20% of our nation's reserves. It will continue to be part of our energy future, but we have to figure out ways to use it that much better. And I've been working on that in Montana and as Western Governors Association actually across the country. We have incredible opportunities in renewables. We have the best wind, one of the best winds in the nation. We have increasing solar and energy conservation. What we need to do is look at all of these as the possibilities for the future, not just stick exactly where we are today.
Thank you, Mr. Bullock. Mr. Gianforte, your rebuttal.
Sure, thank you. Well, we've heard a lot about this great economy and all these jobs. The reality is different when you get out and sit down with people across the coffee table. You know, just this week we lost more jobs in Columbia Falls in the timber industry, and I've been out in eastern Montana, I think over 15 times here in the last year. I've done town halls in Colstrip, and I've met with those folks who are desperately trying to hang on to their livelihoods because this current administration hasn't stood up for natural resources industries. Let me say very clearly, I believe that we can develop our natural resources here in Montana and preserve the environment. We can do both. I was recently coming out of the Stillwater mine in Nye, and there were a dozen bighorn sheep grazing 15 feet from the mine entrance. I took a picture and I tweeted it out, and it said, you know, bighorn sheep investigate environmentally friendly Stillwater mine. We need new leadership in Helena that believes in our natural resources.
Thank you, Mr. Gianforte. Our next question will be asked by Jay Cohn of Mr. Gianforte.
Mr. Gianforte, in 2015, the state legislature voted to expand Medicaid coverage in Montana. In the last report that I read, over 48,000 people have signed up for that expanded coverage. The question is, do you support that expansion, or there are some lawmakers already thinking about trying to repeal it? You said this morning you want to take on healthcare costs. How exactly can you do that?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Jay. It's important that we have a safety net in government for those people who can't take care of themselves. That legislation, of course, passed the House, passed the Senate, the governor signed it. It is law, it's in place. I wouldn't do anything to pull that carpet out from underneath those people with that service. I will say I do have some concern long-term about the overall cost of that program to the state. Because every time we add a cost, every time we add a regulation, every time we add a tax, it makes it more difficult for individual Montanans. And we've seen healthcare costs spiral out of control, double-digit expenses. And I firmly believe that jobs and opportunity, which is the number one thing we need here in the state, are only created in the private sector. They're not, sustainable jobs are not created by government programs. So the emphasis of my administration would be on creating high-wage jobs. In our regulation roundup, I toured the state, and I heard over and over again from small business people that the state government has developed a culture of enforcement rather than one of customer service. And I believe firmly that the purpose of government is to serve the people, not the other way around. And unfortunately, there's too much political inside stuff going on in Helena. We need to get out more and make it easier for businesses to create and thrive here in the state.
Thank you, Mr. Gianforte. Mr. Bullock, your rebuttal.
I was pleased to join Republican Senator Buttry and so many others, from the Chambers of Commerce to Medical Association to hospitals to ARP, in getting a uniquely Montana program passed, the HELP Act, which brought our federal taxpayer dollars home and expanded Medicaid. I'll never forget going into the hospital in Shoto. He said 40% of the individuals that walked through those doors didn't have insurance, and that shift costs to everybody else. If we don't have hospitals in places like Shoto, those rural communities won't be thriving. Now, just about everybody was actually working with us in getting something passed. I think one of the principal groups that was against it was Americans for Prosperity, the Koch brothers, an organization that my opponent has helped fund. We do need to do more. We need to do more to control costs, make healthcare that much more accessible, and we will continue to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Bullock. Our next question will be asked by Becky Hillier of Mr. Bullock.
Mr. Bullock, 49 people were murdered in a nightclub in Orlando by a man pledging his allegiance to ISIS. The tragedy renewed calls by the presumptive GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump for a temporary ban on non-citizen Muslims from entering the country. It also raises new questions closer to home about the placement of Syrian refugees in the state of Montana, an idea for which you have voiced your support. The president has pledged to resettle 10,000 refugees by the end of this fiscal year in September. In this day and age, we are tasked with balancing our open and welcoming borders with real-world security concerns because of radical ideologies around the world. Tell us about the safeguards you would put in place to reassure Montanans that the refugees would be properly vetted, and what would the resettlement look like moving forward? Would it be a long-term arrangement or temporary placement?
Thanks for the question, Becky. Ultimately, both as Attorney General and as Governor, protecting the safety and security of Montanans has been a top priority, and will do so within the confines of the Constitution. He said I voiced support for the refugees coming. Now, what I said is candidly that this is an issue, first of all, fear shouldn't define our values, and second of which, the Constitution doesn't place the ability to determine and define exactly who all comes into our state borders. Now, I will, as governor, do everything I can to make sure unvetted refugees do not come to our state. But I think we also have to take a responsible approach. My opponents propose that what we ultimately need to do is shut down the relocation centers. We've seen what's happened in other states, because it is ultimately not the governor that gets to make the call of who comes through the borders. In those states like New Jersey that have shut down the relocation centers, refugees are still coming in, but the governor and the state has no idea where those folks are. That's not a responsible way to lead, and I won't lead in that respect.
Mr. Bullock. Mr. Gianforte, your rebuttal.
Well, this is a really clear distinction between myself and my opponent, because I called from day one last fall when Obama forced this refugee resettlement program on the state of Montana to call an immediate halt. The governor has not responded. In fact, he said he would welcome these individuals. Now, my heart goes out to those families, young people and women who are dislocated because of war. We have this problem primarily because of a lack of leadership at the federal level, but we don't need to complicate it by bringing unvetted Syrian refugees into our state. I have concern for them, but it doesn't extend so far as to actually move them into our homes and our communities. Even Obama's own CIA director said the ISIS, who we're currently at war with, is using these refugee programs to bring people into our country, and I've been very clear it would not happen on my watch.
Thank you, Mr. Gianforte. Our next question will be asked of Jay Cohn of Mr. Gianforte.
Mr. Gianforte, the Bullock campaign has tried to paint you as anti-access, pointing to the 2009 lawsuit in which you sued the state over an easement dispute on your property along the East Gallatin River. So here's an opportunity to clear the air on the issue. Are you anti-access, and how would you deal with this issue of wealthy landowners buying up land and blocking access to the general public?
Yeah, so Jay, thank you for asking the question, because I do want to set the record straight. My opponent is wrong on this issue. I've been a huge proponent for stream access. In fact, Susan and I, we have the closest public fishing access to downtown Bozeman on the East Gallatin River. And Governor, I invited you to come out and fish, but you haven't shown up yet. You're welcome. There's usually 3 to 5 cars parked there every single day, all summer long. It's right on Manley Road. I'd suggest caddisflies at this time of the year, Governor. Let me be very clear. We have never blocked access to the stream on our property, and we have never sued the state to block access. This was a government mistake, and unfortunately, because we have a culture of enforcement in Helena today, it took us over a year to get FWP to come out to our location and walk on the ground and see what we're actually talking about. It amounted to a mistake on their part as to the location of an easement. We were on the property literally for an hour, and you know what they said? They said, oh, you're right, we're wrong, we'll update our records. And again, access has never been blocked, and we've never sued to block access. Now, I'm in Montana because of public lands. My wife and I think the best thing I ever did in my career was take Fridays off in July and August in the summer, and every weekend we'd head into the backcountry someplace. I will protect public lands.
Thank you, Mr. Gianforte. Mr. Bullock, your rebuttal.
Attorney General, one of the first cases I brought got to defend the state of Montana, was against out-of-state interests trying to eliminate our stream access laws. As Attorney General, helped pass the first stream access law in 28 years, about the same time that Mr. Gianforte was filing suit against the state. Thanks for the invitation, but the beauty is that's a public right-of-way. I don't need your permission. Now let's look at the facts. Ultimately, Mr. Gianforte, through his lawyer, Art Whittick, filed a lawsuit that said there are other places to get access, so this is unnecessary. This easement was never properly created, and this public easement, he filed suit against the state of Montana and all of us. This public easement ultimately should be extinguished because it wasn't improperly created. Public access is a big driver of economy. He's also given those groups that have joined with out-of-state interests in suing to in-stream access. That'll never happen on my watch.
Our next question will be asked of Mr. Bullock by Julie Wendell.
Mr. Bullock, in a poll conducted by CNN that was released this week, support for tighter gun control laws have increased 9 percentage points after the Orlando terror attack. In fact, 91% of Americans say there should be at least some minor restrictions on gun ownership or the type of guns owned, such as assault weapons. In your term as governor, you have vetoed bills that have actually called for Montana to refuse to uphold any type of federal gun control. If elected to another term, How would you stand on any form of gun control or restrictions on buying a gun, and why or why not?
Thanks for the question, Julie. That the Attorney General actually brought the state of Montana into the lawsuit. It was the Heller decision that first recognized that the Second Amendment is an individual right. A strong proponent of our Second Amendment today and will always be in the future. I've worked as governor to pass laws. You reference a couple of vetoes. Ultimately, I will protect all Montanans' rights for the firearms, but I'm not going to extinguish common sense. Yeah, one of the laws said, well, anybody could carry concealed unless they're committing a crime. And the law that you referenced, Julie, ultimately we have sworn law enforcement officers in every single community across the state. We can't put them in a position, because they swear their oath to the United States and the state of Montana, to put them in a position where they can't enforce some laws based on the legislature's choosing. So ultimately, from my perspective, when law enforcement spoke up, that was one of the issues. And I supported law enforcement. We don't need to abandon common sense, but we do need to protect our Second Amendment rights. Been a strong advocate all the way along. The NRA called me courageous. I'll continue to be a strong advocate for our Second Amendment in my second term.
Thank you, Mr. Bullock. Mr. Gianforte, your rebuttal.
Well, this is another area of a clear distinction. There's only one candidate up here that's endorsed by the NRA, and that's me. I have an A rating from the NRA. My opponent has a C rating, and he has, honestly, a lousy record in protecting our gun rights. In fact, there's been 6 individual bills just in the last 2 sessions that he's vetoed. I will protect our Second Amendment rights. He's also endorsed Hillary Clinton, who's committed to take our guns away. And she's also the one that says she's going to put a lot of coal miners out of work. We need to bring common sense leadership back to Helena that believes in the potential of Montana. Now, I understand that he's working hard to fight for his jobs. But unfortunately, as I've been over at the Golden Sunlight Mine or up in Columbia Falls or out in Colstrip, it might be better if we had a governor who was actually fighting for those jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Gianforte. Jay Coleman will ask the next question.
We'll continue this debate between Governor Bullock and Greg Gianforte later on this week. LivinLargeLarry.com from the Redline Computer Studios, West Billings, Montana.
Livin Large Larry live from the Redline Computer Studios next to the Dollar Tree off of King Avenue West in Billings, Montana. This is Livin Large Larry Live.